having a place that's always been sober and is always going to be sober is helpful for people, because being like a brown kid from an impoverished neighborhood or red line neighborhood, like you're already at risk for a lot of other shit.
Let's just introduce yourself.
Cool. My name is Huitziloxochitl Jaramillo. I am the program director for D3 Art. Only daughter out of 5 boys from my family, and I'm going to be a year sober in 2 days.
I love when you share the name of, or the meaning of your name.
Yeah, Huitziloxochitl means hummingbird in a flower. It's Nahuatl. It has 5 syllables, and I hated it up until like I was 15, because no one could ever say it, and no one wanted to learn how to say it.
Yeah.
So it was like always interesting to try and advocate for myself as a child of like, no, this is my name, and you need to say it. Most everybody knows me by Lala.
Wait, did you say 2 days?
In 2 days, yeah.
That's amazing.
Thursday the 12th, it's gonna be a year.
Okay, how are you feeling about that?
I'm really excited. I'm really excited because I didn't think it was something that was possible up until right now. It's wild because it's gonna be 365 days, but at the same time it feels like it was just yesterday that I decided to like stop drinking and doing drugs. So I guess it's putting into perspective how much time and effort and work I've put into like staying sober.
Was there a catalyst that like brought you to the moment of like making that decision and staying with that decision to stay sober?
Yeah, for sure. It was like November of last year. I got into a really big fight with my now current roommate, Julian, and he was the first person that was able to have an honest and stern and just, like really raw conversation with me about like what my use was doing to our household, and to him as one of my closest friends. I've known him since I was 14, so like he's seen me kind of fall into that lifestyle and go down that path, and him expressing that like severe disappointment and just want for me to not hurt myself was like a huge catalyst to make me look at what I was doing and be like, oh shit, this is really bad.
Yeah. What has the past year, like being sober, been like for you?
I recently described it as being alive for the first time, because I do feel like a baby or like a teenager again, because I started using, the first time I ever tried anything was when I was 13, and it really became a habit by the time I was 15. So I haven't done the majority of things in life as a sober person. Like, I've had to do my first show not on substances, first date not on any substances, first like talking thing like this not on substances. Like everything's been a first.
Yeah.
Like holidays and all of that. I feel like a baby.
Just your art style or anything in general around your arts, how has that shifted since being sober?
I think my art has gotten more tender since being sober. I've always been the kind of person who, when they're experiencing big emotions, I turn to my art to get that out. And in active addiction, and when I was using it, a lot of my art was really like manic and sporadic and like still vulnerable, but maybe a little bit like too vulnerable and very much all over the place. Like if you look at my old pieces, you can very much tell that I was like going through something, because it is like very either bright and has a lot of layering and has a lot of texture to it, or I'm like writing words in those pieces that say I'm not doing good. So I think that kind of like manic energy has turned more into specific, like harnessing that to tell a story in pieces now, instead of just being like, I need to get this out. It's like, okay, well, I experienced this. How do I put that into a piece? think my pieces are more centered on specific moments now. I think now.
Do you want to share about the piece next to you? I love this one.
Yeah, so this is a piece I made when I was actually in active addiction, and I finished it, and I've like kind of tweaked it since I've been sober. This is just a print of it. This is a hand screen printed print of that piece. It's called Tu dolor ahora es mi dolor, which means your pain is mine now. Those are lyrics from a title fight song off Hyperview. And I made this during a really insane time of my life where my use was at its worst. And it depicts hands like reaching up to grab a sacred heart and being surrounded with these thorns that are protecting the heart. But also, if you can see down here, they're like wounding the wrists, like they're cutting into the wrists to symbolize like how much the restrictions we put on ourselves and how heavily we guard ourselves. It symbolizes like hurting ourselves with that, hurting ourselves by being too rigid with ourselves and being too restrictive with ourselves in our creative endeavors or in life or whatever it may be. So these hands are guarding the heart, and inside of the heart is a picture of a black eye that I got from a violent relationship that I was in. So that's what this piece is about, essentially, is moving on from that, protecting myself from that, and just, it's another piece that is like focusing that energy of that trauma and that pain into something that tells a story. Up here are alstroemeria. In Catholicism, alstroemeria usually represent a bond and a devotion to Jesus Christ. Here, they're representative of a bond and a devotion to something that was harming me. And the roses and all that kind of, I just wanted it to feel very sacred and very like passionate. And I think a lot of Catholic art is really good at capturing that. So I wanted to symbolize that. All of the people that I do look up to are always honest about where they're at and like what they're experiencing. And in use, it's lying constantly. It's always a lie. It's always a charade of like, how do I cover this up, or how do I say something in order to get this other thing that I want?
Yeah.
So I want to be someone that people can look to for honesty and for authenticity. Like, I want to see that in the world, so I need to exhibit that myself. Like, you can't do it or see it if you're not being it. In recovery, you do need to be super protective of yourself so that you don't end up in spaces that are harmful again. But at the same time, like, at least with my recovery, I almost entirely separated myself from things that I get a lot of joy from while trying to be protective of myself. Because I'm like involved in this space, in this building. We do punk shows and music and art in here all the time. And that's a space that I was harmed in, and that's a space that I started using in. So with recovery, it separated myself from that entirely, because I was like, that world is only drugs and alcohol. That world is where it started, so I can't be a part of that world. Now in sobriety, I know, like, now that I have some time under my belt at least, I know, like, there are people in these circles who are safe and are sober and are supportive of that lifestyle. So I'm glad I didn't just disappear from all of that, because I wouldn't have been able to find these other people who have similar interests and are like building safe community in these spaces.
That's a good segue into what D3 offers.
Yeah, D3 has a ton of stuff. I think it's easier to pinpoint like what we don't have for people to like explore with. But this building we got almost 4 years ago now, and we've been programming it for 3 years. And we have art shows that are sober, skateboarding that's sober, music shows that are sober. It's all ages, 90% of the time. We work with kids from the neighborhood to help like reestablish connection to our ancestral roots, like pre-colonial connection to Mexico, because we are in Westwood, Colorado. I mean, this is like a mostly Hispanic neighborhood, and it's where my family's from. So we want to make sure that we're telling that story of what this neighborhood has always been to. So we offer a variety of AA meetings. Monday night, we have No Access to Grind, which is an open to all 12 steps meeting. Tuesday nights we have Heroines, which is an all-femme HA meeting. Thursdays and Fridays are also open to all 12 steps. And I want to like reiterate that our meetings are not like straight-laced white dudes. They are for people in alternative subcultures. They are for brown members of our community. They are for like underserved individuals. That's why we host them, is to make sure that these people who maybe didn't succeed in a traditional AA setting can come and find that support at our building. And we also have your TRE session, TRE with Lex Chamizo, every second Wednesday of the month. And I think that's it.
In your journey of recovery, how has it been a death and rebirth experience?
It's constantly a death and rebirth experience. Like we mentioned earlier, I feel like a newborn baby doing everything for the first time again.
Yeah.
So that it's like, not, I don't know if it sounds too violent to say it's like killing that past version of myself so that this new version can be reborn. But that's very much what it feels like. It feels like one of those like time-lapse videos of like a flower being reborn and dying and being reborn and dying. It feels like that constantly, daily, weekly, like monthly, because I do have to give up these old ways that I knew how to operate in order to find new ways to operate that are healthy.
What would you share with someone who's going through their first year of sobriety as you come up on your year?
I would not have been able to do this if I didn't have people in my life that I could call and be like, I'm having a horrible time right now. Like I just need to vent, and I need to scream and cry, and I need someone here for me right now. Because addiction for a lot of people is such an isolating experience that I don't think you can fully recover unless you have like really, really solid community around you. And I want the teenagers and the newly sober people who find this place to know, like, okay, so she went through all the really bad stuff and now she's here and she's able to talk about that from a sober perspective.
Do you have a favorite song or artist that was, I guess, from the original 27 Club?
I'm sure it's still going.
Yeah, it is. Phew.
Let's see, who's on the 27 Club?
Jimi Hendrix.
I got to see where he lived in San Francisco this last time I went. It was so fucking cool.
That's it.
It was so rad. I have to go with Brian Jones from the Rolling Stones.
Okay.
Because that story is fucking insane.
Yeah.
But the song that I want to choose is not even a Rolling Stones song.
Okay.
It's Godstar by Psychic TV, and it's talking about Brian Jones.
All right. Anything else?
That's it. Thank you.
This is a story.